That was some comic relief.
So, yeah, I think the Boston Celtics should feel ashamed of themselves. What about you guys?
I will say this. Boston is horribly injured right now. They are hurt.
Is Rondo playing?
No. Well, okay,
wait, Rondo played game 1, didn't he?
Yeah, last I heard, he did not practice. He's questionable for the game. Poe is out. They are hurt. And I'm going to say it right now, the Bulls could do it.
I'm a huge Bulls fan. I've been a Bulls fan my entire life. I loved them when they were winning. I loved them when they were losing, and I love them now. I'm going to go ahead and say, now, the lowest seed to ever win an NBA championship was the 6th seed, and that was the Houston Rockets back in 94, 95. I'm going to go ahead and say it. The Bulls, with their team they have now, will see Cleveland in the Eastern Conference Finals. They have a shot.
Ballsy.
They have a shot. Because, look.
They're not getting past the Magic.
The Magic have to get past Philly, and I don't think they're going to get past Philly.
I do.
I don't. I think that Philadelphia has an answer for Dwight Howard and Dollenberg, which is completely underrated center.
Hey, Doug, can we tell which sport Mike really likes?
I know.
I'm a huge basketball fan.
I'm just trying to stay out of your guys' way because there's not much I can add to this.
I really do think, Chicago holds a lot of records, and I would love for them to be one of the if having a shot at Cleveland is me saying that we're going to beat Cleveland.
Let me ask you that. Do you think they're going to beat Cleveland?
I think if they meet Cleveland, they'll take it 6 games.
Oh, no. Nobody is taking Cleveland 6 games.
Yeah.
I think somebody will take Cleveland 6 games in the finals. 7 games in the finals.
Yes.
I predicted the finals will be Denver and Cleveland.
What? Oh my goodness! You really think anybody can beat the Lakers? They beat the conference by 10 games.
They beat the conference by 10 games, but you got to take into consideration Denver was hurt half the season.
And take into consideration that he ignores statistics.
I will agree with you on paper right now, Lakers, Cleveland.
It's never that simple though in any sport. The 2 number 1 seeds rarely ever
I don't know.
meet.
Look at Boston last year. It was that simple.
But
and they did
it's
but
rare
Boston
though.
never lost a home game in the playoffs.
That I agree with you there, and I will say that's the interesting thing about the Bulls is the Celtics first of all they're incredibly injury ridden, but also that really hurt them losing that home game.
And I'm not gonna lie to you, I cried, and I screamed out Ray Allen's name the other night, and I was just like, you gotta be kidding me.
But not in ecstasy?
Why the hell would you let him get open on a screen? That is the one guy that you triple team. I don't care who else is out on the court. You let anybody else but Ray Allen take that 3, because 10 times out of 10 in that situation, Ray Allen will hit that shot. And they're stupid, let him go. They just let him go on that screen.
Yep. That's why the Bulls, or let's say the Bulls this year, because they haven't been good this year. I'm surprised they even made the playoffs.
No, here's
at a 41 and 41.
Here's where I'm going to defend my Bulls. There, after they made their trades, it is a completely different team.
Who did they trade? What trades did they make?
They cut a lot of dead weight. They cut Cephalosha, which I never ever wanted him on the Bulls to begin with. As much as I love Noach, it was time to let him go. I think
flopper extraordinaire.
I think getting Brad Miller. And seeing Brad Miller and Joakim Noah, I never liked.
Do you remember what I said to you this weekend, Doug? I was like, Brad Miller. I was like, he's got to be like 55 now.
Well, yeah, he's an old dude, but getting him
that's the Mark Martin of the Bulls.
Yeah, getting him and Joakim Noah to play together. I was not a fan of Joakim Noah until after that trade, and then seeing the two of them play together. He's even gone on ESPN and said, they're like, look, something's happened. What happened? And he's just looked. He's like, Brad Miller.
I do think. Obviously, we see a lot more of the Bulls, being from the Chicago area. And I think what the national media is missing is I think they're incredibly underrated. I think that I will agree with you. I do think that that's a very good team. And I don't know if I see them going to the finals, but I legitimately can see them. Nobody's giving them a shot to even still beat Boston, and I think they could.
They're definitely going to. And
if they can beat Boston, I'm sorry. If they can beat Boston at the Garden, they can sure as heck beat them at home.
If Rondo doesn't play tomorrow, and when the playoffs started, I knew that KG didn't play the last couple of games of the season, and I just remember sitting there eating my Cheerios, and all of a sudden I'm watching ESPN and it says breaking news: KG out for the playoffs, and I almost dropped my Cheerios because I was just like, wow, we have a chance now. And I will be the first one to say, put Kevin Garnett back, even if Rondo's out and Poe is out. Put Kevin Garnett back in that lineup. We have no chance. No chance.
Once again, proving my superstar psychic theory of the NBA.
Well, just because KG is such a dominant force. But if I'm not going out and saying that we are going to make the Eastern Conference Finals. But if you ask me the question, minus me being a Chicago fan, if you were to pick one low seed,
yeah,
I would definitely have to say the Bulls.
Yeah.
And like I said before, you kind of cut me off. We're not the same team. After that trade, we became an entirely different team. If we had this team that we have now in the playoffs, I will go out and say we win 55 games.
Fair enough. I didn't even know they made any trades, to be completely honest with you.
We cut a lot of dead weight. I wish we would have traded Gordon up until the other day.
Up until he almost won it single-handedly, even though he was shooting everything.
That's got to suck to score 42 points in a game and not win.
I think the Bulls can step up to a third or fourth seed next year for sure.
Yeah. Keep this team, and especially with a little gem that I like to call my homeboy, D Rose.
I still say they should have drafted Beasley.
Which it was just announced he won Rookie of the Year.
Rookie of the Year.
Whoop-de friggin' do.
It's exciting. Scored more points than Jordan in his playoff debut.
The one thing that's interesting about the NBA playoffs, and we knew from the minute the show ended last week that we were going to talk about this.
I
do want to bring it up.
Let me start this because you guys are going to be the ones arguing about it. I'm going to step back. So let me just say this. So the real question here is, they have 8 teams that made the playoffs. How many teams they made it this year that were under 500 or 500? Okay, how many teams that were 500?
3.
So half.
There was one under 500.
So one under 500, 3
all
500.
The other ones were 500 teams.
So we have
3 that were at 500 or lower.
So if my math is right, a quarter of the teams that made the playoffs were 500 or lower. Is that
right?
right?
On the east side.
Okay. Is that right? And should that be in the NBA playoffs? Go.
This is how I feel. I love basketball. I love the NBA.
Okay.
But
that's a lie.
Yes, I secretly really hate.
That's a lie.
Basketball. No.
You realize how our demeanor just kind of changed a little bit.
Well, what? No. I'm not. What frustrates me is and I said this last week. The playoffs. Okay. In baseball, there are 30 teams. There are 8 teams total, 4 from each league, that make the playoffs. The playoffs in Are you writing my argument down?
Yeah, because I'm just bringing up points.
The point
just
is,
continue.
The point is, it is very prestigious in baseball, and I'm gonna say it. I don't think the playoffs are nearly as prestigious in basketball. How can you justify more than half the league making the playoffs?
Easily.
Okay, go justify it.
Yeah, I don't understand. I just don't understand.
How many games are played in baseball?
162.
How many games are played in basketball?
82.
There you go. In 160, I could see in 162 games at the end of the season taking the top 4 teams and then just saying battle it out. I can understand that because you're playing each other like 20.
You play your division rivals 19 times.
Well, so at that point in time, you're just kind of like, okay, do we really have to see you playing them again? Basketball, you only play 82 games, and I like how there's the lower seeds in the East. The only team that's under 500 was
the
Detroit.
8th seed.
Detroit.
Yeah.
And they were only under, I think there were 39 games they won, so they weren't under 500 by much. But the West was so dominant this year that there are teams in the West that are 40-plus wins, and they're not even in the playoffs. Like, look at Phoenix.
Yeah. No, Phoenix was, what were they?
They were
50 and 32?
Yeah, I think there were 50. Everybody in the West had 50 games. Don't quote me on that, but I think
no, I think you're close. You're close. But how?
Can I ask a question real quick? Because I'm just gonna. So then, under that theory, then if they played more basketball games in the regular season, could we cut down the amount of teams in the postseason?
Yeah. So if you want to support, I will say this to support your argument. If you wanted to say, okay, let's have 6 teams in the playoffs, and then, or maybe even 4 teams. I cannot see the NBA playoffs going 4 teams. I'm sorry, I just can't.
No, I will say that after we finish this, I have a proposal that I kind of came up with. But how can you, getting back to something you said, how can you justify? You said only 3 teams were at 500 or below. How can you? The playoffs are, whether it's 82 games, 162 games, 16 games, whatever. The playoffs are for the best teams. Are you going to tell me? I mean, how is it okay for a team that loses more games than they win to make the extra season, the second seed? How is that okay?
Well, first off, the 2 lower seeds I think are just basically for the 1 and 2 seeds to just kind of have that opening round to get them warmed up. And I think it just so happens that every once in a while they fall in the first round, which
Like the Mavs.
like yeah, you know,